Right. Well, look, good evening. I'm sorry for the delay, I should say at the beginning. We've had some technical problems with the live feed. I've been assured by our technical expert that we are actually broadcasting. So welcome to the December meeting of the London Borough of Hammersmith and Fulham's Cabinet, the last meeting of 2023. My name is Stephen Cowan. I'm the leader of the London Borough of Hammersmith and Fulham. I have a few housekeeping points, which is the fire alarm goes. It's not a alarm, a test. It's a genuine alarm, and we should evacuate following the safety procedures. And now what I will do is move on to the cabinet and ask each person to introduce themselves, starting with my far left. So that's you, Councillor Jones. Good evening.
Good evening. I'm Andrew Jones. I'm the Cabinet Member for the Economy.
Good evening. I'm Bora Kwan. I'm the Cabinet Member for Civic Renewal.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Wesley Harcourt, Cabinet Member for Climate Change and Ecology.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Cabinet Sharon Holder, Cabinet Member for Public Realm.
Evening, I'm Ben Coleman. I'm the Deputy Leader and Cabinet Member for Health and Adult Social Care.
Hello, I'm Rebecca Harvey, Cabinet Member for Social Inclusion and Community Safety.
Good evening, I'm Alex Anderson and I'm the Cabinet Member for Children and Education.
Good evening, I'm Rowan Ree and I am the Cabinet Member for Finance and Reform.
Hello everyone, I'm Frances Ume and I'm the Cabinet Member for Housing and Homelessness.
Great, we have Cathy Neal here to my right, and we are fortunately joined by Sharon Lee, the Chief Executive, and Jade Munro, the Chief Solicitor. And we also have Councillor Nwobi. Hello, good evening. And we have Councillor Carmel. Good evening from the opposition.
Good evening.
Good evening. Right. Well, that's a very polite way to start our evening. And can I begin then by asking, are the minutes agreed of the last meeting? Thank you very much. Are there any apologies for absence? I think everyone's here, so I would take that as a no. Are there any declarations of interest?
Yes, Leader. Item number 5, I declare a declaration of interest. I'm a governor at Flora Garden School. Therefore, I will not be voting on that particular item, although I will remain within the room.
Thank you, Councillor Kwan. Right. Well, in that case, I move swiftly to item number 4, the Hammersmith and Fulham Corporate Plan 2023 to 2026, a stronger, safer, kinder borough for everyone. And I hand over to Councillor Ree.
Thank you very much. So the corporate plan sets out the council's values and vision over the short and medium term, building on the business objectives report that we published last September. This is a bold set of policy priorities for the council between now and 2026, designed to make Hammersmith and Fulham a stronger, safer, kinder borough for everyone.
Thank you very much. Any questions from the Cabinet? Any other questions? Councillor Carmel.
Thank you, Leader. I wondered if the Cabinet Member could sort of outline the changes that have occurred since the last time the corporate plan was put forward.
Councillor Ree.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is based largely on the manifesto that this administration won very handily with in 2022. It includes priorities like law and order, keeping our streets safe with our LETS teams, our gangs unit and our CCTV operation. It includes things like our promise to maintain free home care and to provide free breakfast to school children. And a whole range of other priorities that the residents overwhelmingly accepted back in 2022.
Thank you. And just to add, sorry, do you want to come back? No, it's okay, Kun.
Yes, I'm grateful to the member for that answer. However, could we have some sort of expansion on which areas are going to have a revenue increase and which areas, given the current financial situation, are going to have a revenue expenditure decrease, please?
Should I just come back a little bit on your first question, just set some of the scene. So the first corporate plan we put together in 2014, shortly after the borough changed hands. And again, any corporate plan is rightly in a democracy reflective of a democratic mandate, and that was reflective of ours. So you will remember back then that much of our priority was on our initial goals, and some of those were stopping some bad things happening. So we, in that first period in 2014 to 18, clearly we saved Sullivan Primary School, then went on to work extremely hard to save Charing Cross Hospital, which we did. And indeed, also in 2019, save the West Kensington and Gibbs Green estates. Now, that took an awful lot of effort and considerable public resource. You'll remember we gave Michael Mansfield and his team the freedom of the borough for the role they played in working with us on saving Charing Cross Hospital. But when we also came in that initial period, we said we would launch an industrial strategy. So much of it was about that type of stuff, and that we would abolish home care charges, and that we would do other things that no other council does. Now a lot of that happened in our first and halfway through our second term. So the hospital didn't get saved until halfway through our second term. It was a difficult fight for us to undertake. Similarly with the West Kent and Gibbs Green estates. By our second term, some of the seeds we planted in the first term were beginning to show fruition. So one of the things that we'd done under Councillor Jones's leadership was to say we wanted to grow become an economic global hotspot in science, tech, engineering, maths, medicines. Well, we set out to do that. We went and presented to Imperial. We got them to sign up with us as a partnership, which they did. And we agreed that we would build an ecosystem around their amazing ideas. And that involved changing the planning laws. I know you're on planning committee. So we would build affordable, flexible office space as well as affordable housing. So that was back in the second corporate plan we had. And to put that in context, we launched that in 2017. So just at the end of our first term. And by the second corporate plan, we were going to build it up and produce, we said we would produce 4,000 new jobs. Well, actually, that from 2017 now is we produced 8,000 new jobs, all in science, tech, engineering, maths, medicine. We've brought in £6 billion worth of investment. And to put that into context, that's more than all of West London put together. And to give you a headline, we have, STEM has a lot of different things: life sciences, green tech, fintech, defense tech. If you look at the green tech alone, we've had 1.1 billion investment in green tech into Hammersmith and Fulham. That is more than Manchester, Birmingham, and Bristol combined. So what that essentially meant is that some of the things that we set out to do previously have been completed, and some of the seeds we planted have grown and are beginning to flourish. So what should we be doing now, after a strong mandate in 2022, to look forward to the next 10 years? Well, it's the same agenda. How do we grow the economy to make it more inclusive and stronger? Well, you'll have seen we twinned with Barcelona, who have an innovation district called @22. And we now work symbiotically with them and on how we share best practice and what lessons we can learn with each other. I can tell you, and people of the borough, that we have other Western European liberal democratically run cities that we're looking to twin with. That's tied into the corporate plan. If you look what else there is, we want to extend services and work more with the third sector. So all of that is in this plan, which is a comprehensive base for any officer who we might recruit or is here to be able to get a feel for the basis of what we're trying to do. But then you look at the challenges. Now, because you've been around almost as long as me, or possibly longer. Yeah, well, that's something. Congratulations, I'm pleased about that. But back in 2010, our budget was 184 million. And now it's 132 million because of austerity. And then last week, we got essentially a mini budget, which was essentially austerity 3. And what it's done is remove funding from quite a lot of different services. So what we've never done in Hammersmith and Fulham, because we're very proud of having slashed vast amounts of spending, £142 million worth of spending we've cut since we've been in office. But we've never had a single protest on any spending cuts. Why is that? Because we've not cut services, we've actually provided more services. That challenge gets more and more difficult as each year goes by. And that brings us back down to the Cabinet Member for Finance and Public Service Reform. It's for public service reform, using technologies like AI, using technology, using new work practices that will allow us to shape and remodel the council into a different type of thing so that we make savings and then can plough those back into services. And that's what the broad spectrum is of a corporate plan. In terms of the exact numbers of what will the budget look like in any given year, well, that's what the budgeting process is for. So at the moment, as you will recall from new administration, we're approaching the time where we're finalising those numbers. We will put a budget out for consultation via the policy and accountability committees very shortly. That will be an extensive consultation, and then at the end of February we'll go through the budget, and that will answer that last question you've asked about where is the money. But I can assure you, our view since we came into office has been, we think councils have been old-fashioned organisations that can be modernised, and we've sought to do that at every single point. And whilst it gets tougher because of the lack of government support, we are determined to protect services, as we have done so far, deliver the best value council, but also to make sure that we're changing the culture of the council so it's continuously evolving as technology and other changes are seen in the private sector, but we try and bring them in to the best of the public sector. So that's all it is. It's a corporate plan that sets that out, and I hope there's enough there for you to pick through, and I look forward to hearing any more questions you've got.
Well, I'll just start off with a comment, and I think that it is universally agreed that Imperial West is a huge, huge good thing for the borough. But I'm sure you'll accept that it was the previous Conservative administration that started this off with the various planning permissions for the initial progress for Imperial West. But we on our side of the chamber are very supportive of the growing and the nurturing, I think would be a fair word to say, of Imperial West. But it is our duty to scrutinise, and it is our duty to say when we don't think that things have gone as well as they could have done. But we will be looking at your budget very, very closely, as is our duty to do so. Can
I just ask, do you have a question? Because I mean, you know, I do appreciate what you said about your role of scrutiny. So what would you like to ask?
I'll hold my fire for the moment, please.
Well, look, I would just say I'm just on the White City Innovation District and the sort of economic growth we've had in the borough. You know, it was absolutely true that John Anderson from Imperial, you know, definitely was extremely wise in buying that land, and it was certainly good. You would have been on the planning committee that they were given planning permission. That's what we inherited, and we will always be grateful for that. I think it would be a misinformation to say we inherited an economic strategy or an industrial strategy. We didn't. I think even your colleagues involved in that at the time would freely admit that. So I don't want to get into that here. What I would say is the corporate plan is purely a plan for everyone to see what we're setting out to do as we look forward. All right, on that basis then, I don't think there's any more questions. So is that item agreed? Agreed. Brilliant. In which case, should we move on to the temporary relocation of Flora Gardens Primary School? Councillor Sanderson.
Thank you very much, Leader. In Hammersmith and Fulham, we are ambitious for our young people and committed to giving them the very best start in life. We want to make sure that every young person can learn and grow in the right environment that is conducive to learning so that they can achieve to the very best of their ability. To that end, this paper is seeking approval for the temporary relocation of Flora Gardens Primary School to the Lena Gardens site following the Lena Gardens refurbishment, and fund the allocation and support costs to assist Flora with the temporary move to the Lena site.
Well said. Any questions, please? Yep. Councillor.
Thank you. Can we have some sort of idea, and I may have missed it in the papers, of how long the decant, if I can call it that, will take? Will it take place in the school holidays? And how long is the relocation due to take place?
Councillor Sanderson.
Thank you. We're hopeful next summer, pending approval today. Decant, I think, is a longer question here, but certainly we're hoping that next summer people could move to, the students could move to Lena during the holidays.
And sorry, if I may, how long are you envisaging at this stage the move will last for?
Do you want to take that one?
I mean, in relation to obviously in the background, there have been previous proposals around a redevelopment of the school. We're still looking at options on that in the longer term. But this relates to primarily moving the school out of unsuitable accommodation at the moment.
That's it. You may not have seen the papers, Councillor Carmel, but there is a lot of detail about the current condition of the school and really the.
I'm well aware of that, but is this meant to be a permanent relocation, or will there be moved back? And if it is a permanent relocation, what is going to happen to the current site?
So the title of the paper is the temporary relocation of Floral Gardens Primary School, and that's what this is. Thank you.
And for the third time, how long is temporary, if I rephrase it like that?
Maybe I can just scope out. So the paper is the temporary relocation of Floral Gardens Primary School, as Councillor Sanderson said. What this paper is asking us to do is to agree to that. Further documentation will come back, would set up the exact timeline when they've developed that with the builder, which is in the process of being worked up. And so what this does is the reason things come to the cabinet is to give permission for officers then to develop those plans. Those plans are being developed. That will go to the Education Scrutiny Committee. It may even go to the Policy and Accountability Committee. It may even go to the PAC dealing with the economy. But this is a paper. This is an enabling paper, and that's what this does. And it would be wrong for us to give a specific deadline at the moment for several reasons. One, we have to procure that, and procuring is extremely difficult at the moment. Build costs are up by about 40%. That's a combination of Brexit and the pandemic, but also shortages of supplies and structural problems in the building industry. Two, that is a matter of being commercially negotiated. And three, this is only an enabling paper. So when we have those details, they will go through the policy process. It's purely saying, do we want to do this? And that's what this paper says.
I fully understand what you're saying, but if you know that they're planning to do it next summer, that's again something that's not strictly necessary for the enabling paper. You must have some sort of order of magnitude as to whether it's going to be 6, 18, 24, 36 months. Because the disruption, I speak as somebody who was chair of governors for 22 years in a local primary school. The relocation is likely to impact on the children's education, and